Conversations with Craig and Kobie.
Welcome to another impactful episode of Conversations with Craig and Kobie. I am Craig King,
I am Kobie the Wiz.
and we are here.
Again,
What's up, man?
we're back.
How you doing?
Hey, man, you know what? We here.
Yeah,
We in here.
we doing it.
We doing this thing.
So you guys know how it goes. We have a topic,
And a timer.
and we're just going to have a conversation about that topic.
Yeah, for
We
those
don't-
of you who are not familiar, this may be your first podcast. Just check us out. Go hear the introduction. But, you know, we're just finding our space. And so what we're trying to do is be open to the magic on the other side of the conversation when you just have an authentic conversation. So this is not scripted.
No,
It is, we have intentionally not talked about what we're going to talk about because we want there to be an authenticity to the conversation. So
before I give the audience and our listeners the topic, I just thought of something. Like you know how before we hit record,
yeah,
the richness of those conversations. I think I'm actually trying to take just keep those
to
rolling.
let those go, that would be,
Because we'll forget that.
we will forget.
We-
Like, I don't even remember. I know.
I mean,
it was
we
good.
were dropping. I
It
just
was-
wish y'all listened to what
It was
I
good.
just. It was.
It was good.
But anyway,
But yeah,
that's
so-
neither here nor there.
So that's why
We're about-
I forgot my notebook and stuff
Yeah.
last, but I'm ready this time. So
All right. So as Kobie said, we have a timer. So what we need you guys to do is just listen to our conversation and
Yeah, man.
hopefully, get into it. So we have a timer for 40 minutes.
40 minutes.
Our topic today is finding your purpose.
Finding your purpose, and we begin. 40 minutes, and we in. All right, finding your purpose, bro.
So
What does that look like?
it's a very cliche statement.
It is.
If you think about it.
It is.
It's something that is not like this is not the first time our listeners are hearing, hey, find your purpose, right?
Mhm.
But I think from our different vantage points, I think with our backgrounds and things that I'm going to hear about you and you hear about me, and our listeners are just going to start thinking about how to really find purpose. And so, like, I think my purpose is like divided into just different categories because there's a purpose that's tied to pain.
Ooh, come on.
And then there's purpose tied to like the talent that I have
Mm-hmm.
or the abilities that God has given me.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes they find themselves like intertwined with each other.
Intertwined, for sure.
And so briefly, like just talking about pain, like I would have never thought being diagnosed with cancer would have led to purpose.
Mm.
I just didn't, when that was happening to me, I just never pictured that.
Mm.
Like things that I'm doing now at 39, when I was diagnosed with cancer at 17, I never saw, 20 plus years later, that experience would still be driving an area of my purpose.
Mm.
So like going through that, almost dying twice, learning how to walk again,
Mm.
receiving chemotherapy that did so many different things to my body, some things short-term and long-term that I'm dealing with. But knowing that experience and being able to share that experience with so many people have impacted their lives.
So let's dig into that a little bit. So let's talk about finding purpose through your pain, right? Because living is hard. Like
Yeah.
it's just difficult. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And everybody's got some stuff that could have buried them, but allowed it to possibly build them instead.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about how you think going through that, because listening to this, there's somebody else out there they're going through. They either had cancer, they're going through it now,
Or any type of terminal illness or illness.
type of illness. you know what I mean? Like, what did it take for you? I remember from one of the earlier podcasts, and you were talking about your mom,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? And that was interesting to hear that. And for those of you who don't like, the beauty of this thing, of this whole exercise that we're doing,
Yeah.
is that like we're finding out stuff about each other that
Mm-hmm.
like we don't know. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? It's not scripted. And
Right.
so the authenticity of how it shows up is part of this
Right.
getting to know each
Yeah.
other, even though we've known each other for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So you were talking about, your mom in that process. So just talk a little bit about, help somebody else out right now. Like, what would you tell them about, you might be going through some pain and understanding, right? So not making that situation, that pain, like your whole life, even though you found purpose in it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
That's good.
Because what we
Mm-hmm.
can do sometimes is take that one experience, and then that experience, even though it's traumatic, becomes what our whole life is about.
Right.
Right. So,
And we only associate
it-
our lives and things that we do with the pain
right.
and not necessarily the purpose that can be birthed
And the
from it.
promise that comes out of it.
Mhm.
So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So you mentioned my mom. So that statement she made when the doctor came in and said, you have bone cancer. What she said and spoke into me catapulted me on a path to finding my purpose that was tied to that pain.
Mm,
So she said, it's a small bump in the road, you'll get through it. Which that
mm.
statement alone can be applied to so many
To
different things.
everything.
Like, it's a small bump in the
Anything.
road. And so going through the next 10, 11 months of, a few surgeries, chemotherapy, all those things, and having almost died twice, seeing my life flash
But you
before
know
my
what's like
eyes.
so strong about that?
What is it?
Is that I don't think your mom thought that you were going to grab that and
Oh,
tie it down, and you know what I'm saying? Like, I think at that moment she was just trying to encourage you.
yeah.
And so you never know, like, the things that people grab.
That you say out of the intention being
Something little,
yeah.
but they carry it with them
Mhm.
forever.
I carry that. And it's so funny, Kobie. So we had a family game night last year or something like that. And I don't know what the game was, but it was something where name what is something that your mom would always tell you when you were a kid
Mhm.
or something. It was something like that. And then nobody, people knew about that statement she made, but I wrote down that, and then she had to say what I thought. I wrote down, and she said that, and it was just like, and for her, it was just our little thing, right?
Mhm.
It was just our little thing that really ties us together. Shout out to Paulette King, if y'all wonder, who also taught our esteemed engineer Shantae Darby in the back.
Kingdom Culture.
Kingdom Culture, shout out. But going back to your original question, so she catapulted me on this path to purpose. So when I beat cancer, my last day of chemotherapy was May 2nd, 2000.
Mhm.
And when I left the hospital, ever since then, I haven't had to go back for any other chemo, no cancer reoccurrences. My leg is doing great. Where I had cancer, the original surgery said what they did was gonna last 10 years. It's been 20 plus years now. So leg is doing great. And so out of that, I found my story. Like, American Cancer Society was just like, hey, we want you to help us advocate. So literally, as soon as I finished treatment, I started testifying on the state level to increase the cigarette tax in South Carolina, which at that time was the lowest in the country. We had a very low cigarette tax, and we wanted to use that tax to help fund programs for people affected by cancer. And so I started using my voice that way. And then I went to school.
So that
Go ahead, go.
No, so Is that what pushed you into lobbying?
We get there.
So I'm putting the pieces together.
Yeah.
Okay. So
You
keep
getting
going.
there?
Keep going.
You getting there? So I
That's-
started understanding government and how it works and how collective voices mean something. Because it wasn't just my voice speaking up for this, but it was multiple voices. And so
that you were the face of.
I was the face of. And so fast forward, go to college. I never forget it, Kobie. Shout out to my HBCU folks who are going to recognize this. I was in line for my refund check. Where my HBCU grads?
Stand up.
Stand up. I was in line to get my refund check at obviously Dawson at South Carolina State University. I think it was 2003 probably. And my dad and mom called me and they said, Craig, you might want to sit down. I thought something bad had happened. It was just like Dr. Edie just called. Dr. Edie was my surgeon at the time. He was the only orthopedic oncologist at the time in the state of South Carolina.
Wow.
So any person, adult or child, that had a condition of cancer that had something to do with the bone that needed surgery,
that was him.
He was their doctor. So he has
everybody.
A lot of patients, like thousands of patients, right? So Dr. Edie calls and says, I want Craig to go with me to Washington, D.C. to advocate on behalf of the National Institutes of Health. More specifically, NIAMS, which deals with musculoskeletal conditions or whatever. And so from 2004 up until about 3 years ago when they ended Hill Days, I spent throughout the year and once a year going to Capitol Hill to advocate on behalf of NIH for people across the country. Joined patient advisory boards, did spots for them, magazines, commercials that appeared in every orthopedic office in the country. They would play my video with 2 other patients on loop. And so it's so much. I know.
None of this.
That's the beauty, y'all.
Like,
that's the beauty of this.
Crazy, bro.
Yeah. So I became a really strong advocate, not only for cancer patients, pediatric cancer patients, but people dealing with various musculoskeletal conditions, back conditions, traumatic injuries, traumatic car accidents, traumatic sports injuries, different things that they're born with or whatever. And so I saw where I thought my purpose was going to be focused solely on pediatric cancer, which I'm very passionate about. But I became an advocate for people that suffer from other musculoskeletal conditions as well, and with the NIH. And so that experience opened up like a whole nother world for me. My first flight ever, first time me ever flying, was flying to Chicago to the AAOS campus in Chicago to learn more about advocacy and things like that and what they wanted me to do. And so now, fast forward years later, I'm a counselor at Camp Chemo for children that have cancer, and do a lot of things. Have my own gala where we raise funds every 2 years for pediatric cancer support groups, camps and things like that, Camp Chemo, Camp Happy Days. And so when I was teaching for 7 years, my passion has always been kids. I know I wanted to teach. And so when I left teaching, the teacher profession, which I still consider myself a teacher, you know, when the job came to me, and I was telling Shantae, you know, before we started recording, you know, the job that I took as a lobbyist, I got offered like 3 years before I actually took it. Like I turned it down like every year. My boss, Kathy, she was like, I'm not hiring anybody else. You know, first time she told me,
people are like,
yeah, you just trying to get me to come.
I've heard that.
You know, whatever. So I was just like, no, I'm not. I'm staying in the classroom, whatever. Second year, sorry again, Craig, I'm still doing 2 jobs. Are you ready?
Oh, wow.
I'm like, wow, she really is.
She might be for real.
I turned it down again. Third year, sorry, at the same conference at South Point High School. She said, Craig, are you ready? I said, no, Kathy, I'm good. I'm like, she really is waiting. Which speaks a lot to how she viewed you. And so I think a half a year passed. I'm gonna wrap it up because I know you got some stuff to add.
No, I can't wait to discuss.
But so about a half a year passed, and it was coming to the end of that year. I guess it was the end of 2010. And she was like, Craig, you know, working on a budget. Are you ready? And at that time I was ready to leave, man. And she blew my eardrums off. She was screaming so loud in the phone. And so, but going to your original question, so yeah, that statement by my mom catapulted me into advocacy and fighting for children that are affected by cancer and actually adults affected by cancer and other conditions that affect their musculoskeletal system. And so, yeah, man, it's been a journey, and it's amazing how my love for education and my advocacy have been intertwined with each other. That makes it effortless. You know,
Yeah, it doesn't feel
speaking
like
about it, whether it's education or when it relates to my story and fighting for children with cancer, it's so effortless for me. So, so yeah, man,
no, that's dope.
I can tell you learned a lot.
Yeah, bro, I didn't know. But it's so it's always cool to like hear people's trajectory. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, cause you see people and you're like, man, how'd they get there?
How they get there?
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like we see you now, but like, what was that road like? And so then you hear the backstory, you're like, okay, that makes
mm.
sense now because he was exposed
Mhm.
earlier. And so I knew you like was lobbyist and I knew you was for education, but I did and I knew that you had taught. So I just thought like, oh, well, he was teaching make yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
and a
that's
lot of people. So the question I get a lot with the lobbying, people say, what what degree did you get to become a lobbyist? What did you do to become a lobbyist? What certification did you have?" And when I tell them the answer, they can't believe it. And they're like, "Really?"
Mhm.
Usually some type of work experience helps you a lot.
Absolutely.
So if you're going to lobby for higher education, you should have some experience,
And what you're
probably in higher
lobbying,
ed. If you're going to lobby for whatever,
whatever it is.
the Department of Natural Resources, if you want to be that lobbyist, you probably should have some background in that.
Mhm.
So having a passion for something, it automatically equates you into an advocate or a
Perfect.
lobbyist.
Yeah.
So that passion for education I had, but what I did also have was that experience, even though it came from a
Something
philanthropic
else.
level. So I was volunteering my story and my services to advocate for ACS and NIH and things like that. I wasn't getting paid for it, but it helped me understand policy on the state and national level.
Yeah. So finding your purpose and what does that look like? For me, I think the universe is always giving you um it always gives you signs.
Yeah.
I knew early on I would always be working with kids. I thought it was gonna show up for me as a pediatrician. That's what I wanted to do.
Really?
Yeah.
Dr. Kobie.
Yeah, man. I knew that I liked working with kids, but then like
You know what's funny? Like, if that happened, I can still see you wearing like,
oh, absolutely.
you know what I mean? You being that doctor.
Absolutely.
Like not the white coat, but the gold and purple
absolutely.
coat.
Absolutely. I'd have been that guy.
Yeah.
But I think it's funny how, there's stuff in you that shows up.
Yeah.
And, the thing was when people say, your purpose, your passion, like I've said this before that your purpose is so much bigger than you.
Mm.
And when you figure out what it is, like you can't compromise that for anybody, right? Like not for your wife, like not for your kids, like because it literally doesn't belong to you. Like it belongs to the planet.
Mm.
And you like that is literally what you were like born for. Okay, so here we go. How God operates is he sees a problem in the earth, my belief. And what he does, he plants the solution to that problem in a woman's womb. So purpose is birthed, right? So when we first got married, Ash was like, babe, you know, not get pregnant. I mentioned this one, like, what's going on? And I was like, babe, like, purpose is birthed. Like, when it's time, it'll be time if it's time.
Mm.
Support, Bible, right? God saw problem in the earth. Noah is birthed, right? So that I came across that epiphany, right? Then it made sense. This is why the genealogies are so important, right? You start looking at like David and, birthed this and then he birthed this and then birthed this and then birthed this and then came Joseph. And then from the line, right? Here's Jesus.
Mm.
Right? Go further back, right? You got Noah, right? And then, Enoch, Methuselah, like Laman, Noah. Purpose is birthed.
Mm.
So our job, right? If parents, right, hopefully they can, but if not, as you become an adult, your job is to figure out what's the problem that I'm supposed to solve,
That I was birthed to solve.
that I was birthed to solve, right? And for some, that problem is a big problem.
Mm-hmm.
For some, right, problem may not be so big. But at the end of the day, the size of the problem is not really what matters. It's you recognizing why life is meaningful to you and how your life here can impact others. Because we think that our life is for us,
It's not.
but it isn't.
It's not for us.
It's not for us. Pieces and parts of it are for us,
Very small percentage.
but it's really not for us, right? So it is not so much the journey of just being here, but experiencing life in a way that one, and you feel like, I'm alive, right? But the other piece is so that your life matters to other people in ways that you may never even find out about. Like, that's the piece. Like, think about the things you've done, right? That you may in the life you've been that you may never even know.
Mm. Yeah, I talk about that in my book. Mm-hmm.
So purpose. So how do you find that thing, right? So you figure out this thing because it's going to show up for you. What is this thing that if I could have all of my bills paid, right?
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of money in my pocket, you know what I mean? What is that thing that I would I would really literally do for free,
Free.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that thing that'll pull on you, whether it's helping people, whether it's that. But then the game of that is right. So the game of life and how you get successful at that is now how do I take that thing, right, that I would do for free and then get people to pay me
People
well
do
to
it.
do it? Like that's the
Mhm.
game.
Yeah.
That's the game. And
And even though you would do it for free,
right.
not feeling bad for asking people to pay you.
That's
for
it, right? Now that's the other part.
That's the part.
Extending and recognizing the value that you give.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you have, you know, your gifts and your talents that are in you. You know what I mean? And so your gifts make room.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is, how much room do you want them to make?
It's good.
How much room do you want your gifts to make? And so now, bro, I just turned 44 last year. I will be 45 this year. And the wisdom that I have now at 44 was not present at 24.
Right.
So now I think about this whole thing around purpose
Mm-hmm.
differently. Like, so I believe that I found my purpose. I believe that I know what I was put on here to do. And some people call it cliche, and you hear it all the time so much that it's almost you know, but my work is really about helping people to be the best versions of themselves. So what does that look like, right? So that looks like me writing books that empower and inspire. That looks like me doing, coaching for people to help bring all of that's inside of them out. That looks like me doing trainings for teachers. That looks like me supporting leaders in leadership. So the work that you do should support the purpose
Yeah.
that you feel like you've been here for.
So as you were talking, especially not this point, but the point prior to that,
Mhm.
you were talking about how your purpose is really not for you, but for others.
For others.
And so if people have that same mantra, it makes me think of purpose as somewhat of a bartering system.
It
That-
is.
that idea of bartering, or that
Mhm.
not even the idea, bartering.
Bartering.
It really makes me think of that. And I think about the children's book, Uncle Jed's Barbershop.
Mhm.
I think it's Uncle Jed's Barbershop, where it talked about how some of our ancestors used the bartering system using goods and services
Mhm.
when they didn't have the money or whatever. And so I think if we look at our purpose as, you know what, I have something that someone needs.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't do it,
Mm.
if I don't follow my purpose,
Somebody misses
then
out.
my brother or sister are going to struggle. And it's not like
Ooh.
that's good, that's good, right? They're going to struggle. And likewise, I need you to follow your purpose, Kobie, because the fruits of your purpose that are going to benefit me, I need. So I need you, Kobie. Look at me. I need you to, even though you found it, I need you to continue on your path of purpose because I'm depending on it.
So here's the question that came to me, which is why I was kind of looking away, which is almost like, who is in pain right now because you didn't operate and attack your purpose?
That's heavy.
Right. It's got me over here. And
That's
about to cry,
heavy, bro.
Because that is, yeah, man. It's like,
That's
it's
heavy.
different, man. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
You're good.
yeah, it's like a level of like conviction, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it really isn't about us. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you got something that you know you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And perspective is everything, right?
Yeah.
And even though we talked about it, like even with the book, but how these conversations like building, like that is like that purpose piece is, it's like you got something that you need to do.
Yeah.
Like, and people don't do it because they get selfish about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They think that it's well, I'm not gonna do this because ain't nobody gonna read it, or I'm not gonna do this because it's not really gonna impact anybody. But you're not really getting that it's not about you doing it to get any accolades or praise.
That's right.
But somebody else needs it. Like they don't want it. Like they
need
it. And that's different.
Yeah. That's different.
That's different. Like, so if you don't exercise
your purpose.
That's the
not
right,
just finding
come
it.
on, that's the right word.
We
right?
just changed the title of this right here. Exercise your purpose.
Exercise it, because it's in the exercising of it
that creates the habits.
Come on,
that
man.
creates the consistency. That creates the strength, and the feeling that you're feeling right now helps that feeling not happen as often.
Yes,
because we're not perfect,
right?
But to your point, there's something I didn't do that has not given somebody else what they needed to get through,
and you know that,
and I know it.
Wow, that's heavy.
That's heavy. I didn't see this getting heavy, Kobie.
Nah, bro, but that's the power, right?
That's the power of the conversation. What's on the other side of it?
What's on the other side, and not the lack of the script and the authenticity of it. Because that's the question, right? Because we, we're here, we're selfish, we're looking for, we talked about that, the social media, the claps, the accolades, the retweets. I'm gonna do this because I'm trying to go viral. But the question is, right? Are you doing, or do you feel like you're doing what you've been put here to do? Or have you even asked that question, right? Why am I here?
Why?
You know what I'm saying? Like, why am I here? And, what am I supposed to be doing while I'm here? And I think the earlier we get to asking that question for ourselves and others, getting others to wrestle with that question, it adds a different level of direction and intentionality in how we live and move.
Yeah. So that's part of the system.
Mm-hmm. The systems,
that
right?
we talked
From the
about
last
in a previous episode. That's part of the system.
Mm-hmm.
The people that we aim to help because of our purpose. They're part of the system. They should be part of our thought process as we're exercising that purpose.
Wow, who's this gonna help?
That's right. Because if it's 100% purpose is just for me, then that's not serving the purpose.
Yeah, it doesn't release right. It doesn't get it doesn't get executed in a way that's most impactful, because you're trying to do it for you.
Mm-hmm. And even outside of your, taking that same vein of only applying it to people that are outside of your family or your household, but taking that same drive when you look at your wife and you look at your children, our children, saying, hey, what I'm doing now in my purpose it's going to benefit my daughter's great grandchildren. Meaning, like generations removed, I'm no longer here.
But how does
but
that
because
live?
of what I'm doing now, intentionally exercising my purpose, it's going to benefit them, not just from a monetary standpoint, but just from a standpoint of knowing who they are.
And values, right?
Right.
So how do you, so that's a whole nother podcast.
That's a whole nother one.
That's a whole nother conversation of how do I transmit and keep alive my beliefs like
Come on.
long after I'm gone. Like that's legacy. How do I make sure
your omnipresence?
Right, that I'm omnipresent and not here. But I'm here.
But I'm here.
Right.
Not 10% of me.
All of me. Yes. Yeah, that
was part of it that was rolling.
Yeah, that y'all
before the cameras weren't rolling. That's why I was saying we got to keep the cameras rolling.
That omnipresence piece was strong. But that whole understanding, recognizing, and understanding that your purpose, that even though you may even be aware of it early, like the actual manifestation. Oh,
come on.
David became king when he killed Goliath. David didn't become king when he killed Goliath. That was so deep. Woo! That was strong, bruh.
That was strong.
That was strong. So recognizing the purpose could come early, even if the manifestation of your purpose may not come for years. So there's a power in the preparation of the purpose. The preparation of the purpose. So even though you may be aware, right? So I knew early on that I was going to be working with kids, although I did not know how that was going to manifest. I thought it was going to manifest one way.
You were going to be in the educational system for years.
Bruh, like even so even if you know, like the way that it works out, right? I thought I was going to be a pediatrician, practices, all of that. Didn't even show up, right? So then I'm like, I'm going to be a teacher, right? Teach kindergarten, first grade. Then I'm going to be a principal, then I'm going to be a, assistant suit. Like I had this whole trajectory. Like I was supposed to be a superintendent right now, like probably 7, 8 years ago. Bruh, none of that happened. None of it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I got my master's, and then I end up quitting at the pinnacle when I was getting ready to be propelled.
Yeah.
I didn't see this. Yet I'm still in purpose.
You're still in purpose.
But how I thought the purpose was going to manifest looks different than what I had originally envisioned.
So for our listeners and viewers, understanding that the preparation of your purpose may lead you to pivot.
Yes.
Along the way to the manifestation of the purpose.
So it may not. So that's why understanding what it is, the big picture.
The big picture.
Right. So that you don't get caught in the idea of how you feel like it should show up.
Or the job title.
Or the title, right?
Like I'm going to be a second grade teacher.
Right.
No, it may not manifest like that.
It may not manifest. I'm going to impact lives through education. So give the vision, you know what I'm saying, and let the universe narrow your mission and how it shows up.
That's good, bruh. Wow.
Yeah.
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
I really didn't think this conversation would take the route that it did.
Bruh,
I mean, I knew it was going to be good, like a great conversation, but like I did not expect this.
bro, this is counseling. I did not think I was going to be shedding tears on camera. That was not part of the show.
No, but it's all right. It's here. We're here.
That was not like, but that is the thing, bro. Like,
well, that conviction you had convicted, I think, everybody in this room. Like, you know, and I, you know, the way you worded it was much better than I'm about to. But if you, the things that you didn't do tied to your purpose, like
who's in pain?
Who's in pain because of that.
That's strong.
Wow. I think, whoa.
So whatever you're supposed to be doing, get in purpose. You
Get
know,
in purpose.
you know what you're
exercise.
Exercise
your purpose.
Because you know what you're supposed to be doing, and you, some of y'all out there been running from it.
Yeah. Talk to them, man.
You've been trying to act like you ain't heard it. You've been trying to brush it off, to put it on somebody else. Like, do what you're supposed to do. Like, exercise that purpose, get it out of you, because somebody needs
it.
What you have.
This bartering system that we have is ongoing. Like, it's when you are putting out things that are tied to your purpose, someone that needs it is receiving it.
Yes.
And likewise, when somebody else is operating in their purpose, you are receiving it. That is our timer.
Bro, we might actually have to do a part 2 to this.
We might have to do a part 2, finding a purpose. We may have to do that.
Yeah, that one. But I think we might have to do a part 2 to this.
Yeah. But before we go,
yes,
we have a segment called "What Are You Wearing?"
What are you wearing? Right. So the people who are on the podcast, right? You guys can't see us, but we try to give you guys a good visual of what we are, even though we do have the YouTube channel, right? So those of you who are watching, you know, you get to see, but those of you who are listening on the podcast, you don't get to see. So, today,
what you rocking?
I am rocking my Kobie the Wiz hat. I have on a long sleeve yellow shirt that has "Read" across the chest in big purple letters. Rocking some jeans, and I'm sporting the fives of Jordan. So that's what I'm rocking. What you got on, man?
So my former professor, also good friend, Dr. David Staton, who is the creator and founder of HBCU Times. Go to hbcutimes.com and check out their merch as well as their magazines, always promoting the HBCU experience and all the great things that produce who comes from HBCUs. So shout out to Dr. David Staton and his entire team at HBCU Times. Go pick up the hoodies. They have them in all different colors and all that good stuff. So follow us on Instagram, Twitter at Craig and Kobie.
Yeah.
Website, craigandkobie.com.
Yeah. Check out the YouTube channel if you ain't watching.
Yep.
All of that. Shout out to Kingdom Culture.
Shout out to Kingdom Culture. Chante Darby for all your cinematography, audio, visual needs. Hit him up.
Yeah.
Check him out at kingdomculture.com.
Yeah. So
that's it, man.
Till next time.
Till next time, bro. I'll see y'all next time. We'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time. This is Conversations with Craig and Kobie. All we got is a topic and a timer, and
that's it.
We're done.
All right. See y'all next time.
Peace.
Conversations with Craig and Kobie.